Good Tuesday morning.
Good Tuesday morning, man. How you doing?
I'm doing well. How are you?
I'm doing really good. I mean, I'm really excited about today. Got a lot of great things going on today, and just I get excited every day. So that's the important part. How about you?
I'm doing well. Things yesterday was a good day. A lot of things got accomplished and got done. A lot of contacts with a lot of clients and future clients. So I think people are getting to the new normal of reality of being able to reach out to people through phone, text, video, and actually communicate with them, not just say hello. So I think it's good.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I think the weather on the East Coast yesterday was warmer than it had been, and today it'll be a cloudy, sunny day, but I believe we'll hit the 60s, which is really good for everything. It's good for attitude. It's good for this thing going away sooner, I hope. But you know what? I'm not a doctor. I'm not a scientist, but I am very optimistic and very positive.
So today, let's welcome our special guest. You want to welcome Dave?
Yeah, I want to welcome the NAR president-elect, who will be installed in November of 2020 this year, Charlie Oppler. Charlie, thanks for coming on. You're also the president and CEO, I believe, of Prominent Properties Sotheby's here in New Jersey. Is that correct, Charlie?
I was yesterday. I don't know if I'm going to be replaced anytime soon. We had Lee Brown, who's a nationally known speaker who you both know, who spoke to our company yesterday, and she said that it was nice that Michael was running the company so I could enjoy myself. So I'm hoping that I have the job again today, and then it's a pleasure to join you guys. So.
Yeah, I mean, Lee's. I'm very happy to call Lee a friend, and she's amazing. But yeah, thank you so much for joining us, Charlie, today.
It's great to have this opportunity to do this. We probably wouldn't have been doing this 2 months ago, right? We would have been, all three of us, been at work at whatever hour you go in, pushing paper and doing a few things. This has given us an opportunity to take a step back and kind of look at the way we do business. And, there's a lot to learn in how you can communicate. We've done recruiting meetings in the same format. Yesterday, I was on one with three of us, a manager, an agent, and myself, just answering questions that, you still have your small talk and you still have some of your, pleasantries, if you will, but it's a little bit more business-like because nobody likes to look at a screen all day long and do this. So it's a new normal, but maybe it's a couple of good lessons for us all.
Listen, I think it gives us all a chance to step back and actually think about where we are, where we want to go, and an opportunity to share, with actual thinking about it, as opposed to just doing every day, where we all run around from early in the morning till late at night in our industry. This gives us a chance to really think about, who we are, where we want to go, and plan our business properly for the future.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think it's taught us a couple of things that we can do better as a company, and certainly on the national level. With all the things that we've been able to still accomplish in Washington, D.C., with our advocacy, you realize that what you're doing is leveraging the relationships you've built over 20 years, 30 years in the industry. For me, it's, I started in 1981, so I'm going on close to 40 years. And what you learn is the people that were your friends, the people that you trusted, in the 80s and 90s and 2000s that are still in the business, are still people that you can pick up the phone or text or do whatever you need to do just to learn from, see what they're doing. One of the things I started to do is just send text messages to all people and friends that I hadn't talked to in a while, just to check on them. One thing we've asked our agents and our managers is to kind of look at this as a +1. Obviously, you hope you're okay and your family's okay, but go check on somebody else.
Right.
One of our agents in our Jersey City office, which I think is a great story. There are a lot of brownstones down there that are attached.
Right.
I said, check on your neighbor. She knocked on the door, nobody answered. She slid a note underneath the door that said, "If you need anything, I live next door." Now, how many people live next door to somebody and really don't have that much of a relationship with them for whatever the reasons?
Right.
Everywhere.
Well, this woman actually and she left her number, actually called and said, I don't drive. I could use some groceries the next time you go. These are what I need. And our agent, called back and said, I'll probably be going tomorrow. And needless to say, it was a great, great thing, because this was a 70-year-old plus woman, lived alone, and she had somebody looking out for her. So we're big on this +1 right now, to see if you can check on somebody that needs some help.
Right. It's a shame that we have to go through this pandemic in order for our human side to come out of us sometimes, but it's really nice to see the different towns and communities and neighbors that are all getting to know each other, helping each other out. Even here in the suburbs where I am in Bergenfield, there's people meeting neighbors who've never met before just by being out on the street taking a walk, and everyone's offering help. And there's some kids on the block who are, going up and down helping the elderly. It's really nice to see. And we wouldn't normally get that because the kids would be in school. We all would be at work running around, and these elderly people sit here all day with, not knowing anyone. But now we're all getting to know each other and helping each other out. It's nice to have that human connection, even with the social distancing that we're practicing.
Absolutely. I think the one thing, though, is, you always respect somebody's privacy.
Yes.
So now that's the fine line that you really go through, is that you never wanted to infringe on somebody's, their time. But now that you have the opportunity to help somebody, I don't think that it wasn't something that we all would have done. It's just, this is a different time. So now you go out of your way to make sure. I live, and my neighbors, I now have seen more than I'd probably seen in 2 or 3 years. I've seen them every day, because we live on a cul-de-sac. And it's nice to see the kids out just walking around and doing everything. But normally, like you said, I'd be at work and they'd be at work, and kids would be in school, and that was that normal. This is the new normal. And again, it's all a learning process, and it's how you approach each day versus letting the day beat you.
Absolutely.
Yeah, it's so different today. I mean, you don't know the people that you don't see, and we have the opportunity to do that now. There's so many opportunities that we have today, especially for our business and for being human, which is amazing. You mentioned earlier, you were talking about a recruiting meeting that you had. We've talked about doing business, we've talked about the real estate business, but we haven't talked about that end of it. Do you think there are agents that are still interested in moving at this time, if they're going to, you were talking about recruiting, so that's why I bring it up.
Yep.
How prevalent is that as opposed to it would have been 2 months ago?
Well, it's kind of interesting. This is an agent that reached out for us. I have really taken the approach not to, I don't think this is the time to be reaching
that's why I
out.
asked the question, right?
Unfortunately, we don't all think the same way. And that's disappointing from the industry standpoint. As I said, we had Lee on yesterday, and I invited a number of agents that are just friends in the industry. I'd love for some of them to work for us. If they do, great. If they don't, they're still friends. Right. So we invited them to join us yesterday. And again, we've had some great speakers already nationally, but you do for others right now. And it's disappointing when you know that not everybody's doing the same thing. But no, I certainly will talk to anybody at any point in time, but they're going to have to make that first reach. I don't know. It's a very tough thing, but I just think you have to respect somebody's family and somebody's time. And it's not the time to tell somebody how much better you are than the next broker. It's I'll give you the other side of it. We created a document for the limited showings that we have had, just for a buyer and seller to acknowledge that they don't know that they have COVID-19. If they're going to enter a property, we want the broker, each agent to sign, and the buyer and the seller, or the landlord and tenant, right?
Yep.
And if nobody's willing to sign it, that's a pretty big red flag in my mind.
Right.
Okay? Some brokers have put indemnifications and hold harmless clauses and all these things and taken it to a legal level, which we've told our agents you're never going to sign, because that's just not the purpose. And I've had two brokers reach out and say, we like the approach you've taken. Can we use your form? And I never even hesitated to say yes.
Right.
I checked with our attorney just to make sure that she didn't have a problem with it. I said, but why wouldn't I want something in the marketplace that I think just raises that red flag, and everything else is kind of agent beware, buyer beware, seller beware, because none of us know.
Exactly.
What's nice to see is that most offices and most agents are actually sharing more information with each other now than they ever did. We're all competitors, but at the end of the day, we're all coworkers, and we're all working in this industry together.
Absolutely.
And we deal with each other on a daily basis. And the amount of sharing from most companies out there is just absolutely incredible to see.
Yeah, I'll say very nicely that I think most are approaching this in that cooperative spirit. There are still many out there, unfortunately, that are saying this is an opportunity to build, and look what we're doing.
Right. Right.
And that, what? That's what they would do if the market were day to day. So why should they change?
Right.
So, Charlie, on a national level, with your position at the National Association of Realtors,
yep.
What's going on, and what's the keys that are going on there with the entire country?
I think, advocacy has always been the main reason the National Association of Realtors has really, if you asked each member that understands the fact that we're the largest trade organization, in the world as far as what we do. I think that the biggest thing that I've learned here is the strength that we have in Washington, D.C., and it starts at the local level. It's working with your local congressman. It starts with working with your local council person, and it built up over the years. And when it came time for this stimulus package number 3, which is referred to as CARES with coronavirus, originally independent contractors were not in that bill. We found that unacceptable because look at our industry. We are built on agents that work day in and day out.
Right.
But so is the hairdresser industry, and so many other independent contractor type of companies. So
yep.
We went to fight in DC, but the beneficiary might be the person who's a local truck driver. That might be somebody who's not an employee in any of their fields. Okay, they benefited from our work. What I can tell you more than anything else that I'm proudest of is that we were able to get the independent contractor protected in this last stimulus. What would be disappointing if people understood is that $2 trillion bill, and if anybody understands politics, and let's face it, most realtors do, we all know what a pork belly is. That $2 trillion bill that was passed, and we fought, as you know, the Senate cruised through this, but then it's stalled in the House so we could get the independent contractor protected. $25 million in that bill goes to refurbish the Kennedy Center.
Wow.
Okay.
How much money goes to the raise of the Congress of Congress?
You know what? We could debate that another day.
Yep.
But certainly for us to get the independent contractor protected for unemployment benefits, when we've always fought to be independent contractors, but for this time period, because it's so unique in our history, to be treated like an employee should go down in history as something that your association was able to do. And when I say your association, anybody that's in this industry, it's your association.
Right.
I'm just the person that's going to have the opportunity to be the president next year, but I'm part of a team. My team, I speak to Jared Grasso on a regular basis to see what the state's doing.
Right.
And how different it is than the national level, and where I can help on both levels. So the fact that we were able to protect the independent contractor is something that our members will be greatly benefiting from. I think the disappointing part is how long it's going to take to get that process going. Just like how long is it going to take to get your check from the government? of $1,200 or $2,400. But at least it's a start. And I think you're going to be looking at a stimulus package for, my guess would be in the May 1st range, depending upon where we are as a country, fighting the COVID-19.
Right. Speaking about how important it is to be part of the larger conversation in Washington, National Association of Realtors has their legislative conference in May that was canceled for this year. So how are we as realtors going to be able to have our voice down in Washington, throughout the year, besides for having our lobbyists on a national level go down for us?
Well, you will see a schedule that will come out. We will have a virtual conference.
Okay.
It'll be a greatly adjusted conference, but we're going to give you the economic update. We're going to give you the legislative part of it. And we're going to cover a number of things. The committees are going to meet prior to the conference via Zoom conference or some kind of virtual meeting. So they're going to cover a lot of their business as usual, if you will.
Mm-hmm.
But we're also looking at things down the road. For instance, we have a sustainability PAG, Presidential Advisory Group,
Right.
where we talked about the environment, energy, water tables, global warming, and all the things that affected business.
Mm-hmm.
Where did a pandemic fall?
Right.
That's 2 months ago. So now we're looking at a sustainability committee as a standing committee to say, okay, you know what? Let's see what we can do to be out in front of this from a broker standpoint to help our members do business better and more efficiently in the future. So I think that the one thing here, more than anything else, is we're able to do a lot of the things, Mark, that you talked about because we have those contacts in DC that we've built up over the last 50 years.
Right.
Our chief lobbyist, Shannon McGann, who joined us about 2 years ago, has tremendous respect on both sides of the aisle,
Mm-hmm.
and she's treated very fairly. In addition, our regulatory body is so strong in DC that we're asked to help write the bills sometimes to cover all the things that a layman couldn't do. A chief of staff or a member on a congressman or a senator's staff that isn't in the industry full time.
Right.
We're the point of contact. And I think more than ever, when you look at your RPAC investment and you look at all the things that we've done over the years on the advocacy side, it's paid off in great return, especially again with the protection on the independent contractor.
Right. Yeah, so I think that's super important. I mean, coming out of this on the other side, right? How is business going to be changed now? Like, I know you don't have a crystal ball, but are we going to be able to have somewhat of a regular transaction again going on in the next couple of months?
It's kind of interesting. We all know the 80-20 rule, right?
Right.
So there's 1,400,000 members. We think nationally, maybe we'll lose 100,000 members.
Okay.
And yet I saw the list from the state yesterday. Over 500 people took the test in the month of March.
Right.
Okay. I don't know what the normal is, but 500 struck me as a lot. And I don't remember the pass fail, and that's not important.
Right.
Because even if they fail, they'll pass the next time. They're just people that haven't taken a test in a long time.
Right.
That get intimidated, but know the information and will be a good realtor.
Right.
Okay. I think where business has changed is you learn how to use your time better. The old days of having an office meeting, for instance, every 2 weeks or every 3 weeks. When I started in the 80s, you had an office meeting every week.
Right.
Okay. But we also didn't have the ability to see property like we can now. So again, when I started, the reason you had an office meeting on Tuesday is so you could go look physically at property.
Right.
Because you couldn't see pictures. So, it's hard to sell something. It's hard to learn a community. It's hard to learn a street when you don't have any other way to know the property except see it.
Right.
That's changed over time. So, I look at some of the basics. I always feel like, and I've encouraged our agents consistently to take advantage of tours and go out and see properties on Tuesdays, Wednesdays, Thursdays, and Fridays, because wherever we are as a company, they each have different tour days. but agents have become reliant on pictures, photography, if you will, virtual tours, whether it's a virtual tour that's a slideshow or a real virtual tour.
Right.
So I think from the efficiency standpoint, we've adjusted. There have been people that have been doing virtual tours for 5 years.
Right.
But the consumer now is thinking differently because we now have told them you can see a property and you can walk through it. Maybe in the metropolitan New York area and northern New Jersey and central New Jersey, because of the cost of living, you're going to want to see that property.
Right.
But I can tell you in a lot of other places in the country, people are buying houses virtually because so many of the neighborhoods are cookie cutter, if you will. They're
Right.
new developments that have been built in the last 5 years. So if you own a house, Mark, Dave owns a house, and I own a house in the same neighborhood, it could be a 3-bedroom, 2-bath ranch on a 60 by 100 lot in so many places in this country.
Right.
We don't have that in the Northeast nearly as much.
No, we don't.
So that's, I think, the biggest challenge here is you're going to learn some things virtually. I think the other part is we've learned about the documentation and that process of completing a transaction, which we never did. An e-notary, for instance.
Exactly. Right.
DocuSign, obviously, or some kind of e-signature platform. I can tell you that e-notary is probably the biggest thing that's the concern of most of the industry because of the amount of mortgage fraud and the amount of hackers online when you're trading information virtually, if you will. That's the biggest concern on the e-notary, yet there'll be a way that you can secure that information in the future.
Right.
So the question is, if nobody has to be at a closing and you're still closing property, is that a better way to do business? And that's going to be, for the marketplace to determine. You still have relationships with people, and that requires being seen.
Right.
Versus just saying, hey, you know what? Go to close, sign the paper, send me my check, and we're good. I'm not sure that that's really what's going to happen long term.
Okay. Well, that makes a lot of sense. I mean, the e-notary is the thing we've talked about many, many times on this broadcast, and
Yep,
it is an issue. It is one of the things that people are talking about. They're talking about, have the notary go to your house or have the person go to your house and watch you sign it through the window.
Yeah.
So I mean, that's happening. Right?
You have notaries using FaceTime, watching you sign, then taking the phone, walking over to somebody else in a parking lot at a title company.
Right.
It's like a drive-in movie. Like 2 cars in a parking lot. Mark, you're the seller. Dave, you're the buyer. And the notary's there with their telephone, right? Taking pictures. Mark, there, sign. Great. Dave, you saw Mark sign. Boom.
Yeah.
I play it back and know it was him. And the next thing you know, 40 minutes later, you've closed on a home for $1.6 million, and pick a place. And you're sitting there saying, okay, that's it. Where's the 4-hour process of mortgage papers?
Exactly.
So I think that's the positive. I think the people aspect is something we're going to have to adjust to, and learn how to deal with our customers and clients differently and better, so they don't feel like they've been virtually eliminated because of the process being able to be done this way.
Right.
And closed. So I think that's a delicate balance for just any proprietor to do.
Right.
I think that's where we're going to change is find use those 2 words you just used together, delicate balance. I mean, I think it's going to be it's going to change. It's going to be more secure as we move forward. And just like you said, that delicate balance is going to be more of the norm, I think, as time goes on. But you're right. I believe you're right. It's going to take a little bit longer than just coming out of this to have it happen right away.
Well, I think that there's, one other thing that will eventually change the business. Right now, we're dealing with an inventory shortage across the country.
Right.
So when you're able to show property, it will be a mass hysteria, in my opinion.
I agree.
let's say June 1st, the governor says you can start to show property. The customers will be approached over and over. You're going to be lining up appointments weeks in advance, trying to get into a property. The other part is how many people haven't put listings through any of the MLSs right now because the seller doesn't want anybody through their house, which I 100% support.
Right.
I think we have to stay safe, stay home. And really, if everybody does it, then we're all on the same playing field. It's the people that, in my opinion, one of us jeopardize all of us because you just don't know who you're going to see and when.
True.
But I think the biggest thing here is once the inventory gets to a point where there is some normal equalization, then I think the virtual part of the business will be reenacted and built from versus the initial hysteria of I got to get out and make this sale. I also think that you're going to see a migration away from major population areas like New York City and even Long Island by comparison out to Jersey, to some of the suburbs. And, there's a difference between a town in Long Island with 100,000 people and a town in Jersey with 25,000 people.
Right.
So I do think that's another part of this, that we're going to learn how people look to live differently. I think multi-generational housing could come back because people feel like they've been away from their family. So now, caring for parents or parents helping kids out during this period and grandkids is something that we're learning is something that I think is going to transition where it got away from us. I think it's now going to be more prevalent.
Great points. All great points.
Yeah. I mean, one thing that I can tell you is that I noticed that viewership is up on the listings that we still do have that are out there. Even though we may not be able to show them in a traditional way, I think some of our listings are up to 400% views than what they were a month ago.
Absolutely. And we're seeing that on our listings. My question to you, Mark, would be how many are realtors looking at those properties versus the public?
Right. So it's
trying
hard
to run the inventory.
Yeah. But we still got calls on them because people are looking at them. So there are people who are anxious to move once this is all over, especially the ones living in a 1,000 square foot apartment or less in the city who want now a backyard because they're realizing that it's just not big enough for them.
And they want to be able to walk a neighborhood.
Correct.
There's also going to be those people that hate their house. They just realize they're in their house. They hate it. They want to get out something else.
Yeah, and I think the interesting thing would be, the city people, because it's so big, may move like to a Jersey City, a Hoboken, a waterfront because it's half the people.
Right.
And the people that, and millennials were projected to be 36 to 38% of the first-time buyers in this marketplace.
Right.
Okay. Now that they think differently, everybody used to want to be in close proximity to where you work. The whole live and work phenomenon.
Right.
Is that the same? My daughter works for a company that basically has said, you know what? We're going to do 4-day work weeks. We think it'll be a better mindset of the employee to not have to be in the office every day because they've learned how to work remotely.
Right.
So now they're talking about either Mondays off or Fridays off for half the year.
That makes sense.
And they think they're going to get a much better employee those 4 days of the week.
Yeah.
Even if you think about how you've done business, if you're a 9-to-5 employee and your superior texts you at 9 o'clock at night, I need this, you'll do it.
Right.
That's the millennial mindset anyway. Correct. I think it's just a matter of what are you going to do on the commercial end of the business when companies realize they don't need 80,000 square feet and they can make it on 40,000 square feet. What happens to the commercial sector of our marketplace? Look at collecting rents in this pandemic. Things that we've talked about before. If you're a big property owner, do you look to diversify your portfolio differently because of what you've learned in the last 2 months? There are so many unanswered questions about our industry going forward. And I think that's, just the tip of the iceberg, if you will.
Good point.
Very good point. All right. So listen, thank you, Charlie, for coming on today. We appreciate your words of wisdom and insights. Anything you want to leave anyone with, any points or tips for the day or week?
I think that the most important thing is everybody has to stay at home, stay safe. If you do go out, pay attention to social distancing and take every precaution possible, because this is something that we've never dealt with, and every day you can listen to a different medical report, a different anything, and I just thank you guys both for what you're doing, and I guess the hashtag "we're in this together" never could be more true. And I look at that both on the broker side, the personal side, and everything else that we do. So thank you guys both, and hope to see you in person sooner than later.
Looking forward to that.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Have a great day today. Good luck with everything. Dave, thank you again for a wonderful show.
We'll talk soon.
We'll see you all.
Guys.
See you all later. Thank you.
Bye-bye.